Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure? It's cultist coffee. What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning. Wait, whoa. What is going on with the camera? Hang on. What is up with the camera? Just a second. What is that? What is going on here? I assume you can hear me. Just 1 second. Let me try one more thing. Looks like I forgot to take off the One Ring. Just 1 second. Let me just leave and come back. I have no idea what is up with the camera at the moment. It appears to be going, like in the other software and everything. I wonder why it is suddenly not coming over. Well, okay. Well, whatever. We got what we got. I guess we're audio today. I wasn't anticipating that. We were having a great conversation yesterday. Over here, we have the auxiliary camera going today anyway. We got the arms and equipment guide over here. And we actually had a lot of fun yesterday. If you had not seen the video of the live stream yesterday, we started to look at the arms and equipment guide, and I've had this one sitting around for quite a while to look at, but I didn't think, it would just be kind of a quick pass through. It's the arms and equipment guide, but it actually turned out to be a fantastic conversation because, hey, like I said, guys like to talk about gear, and so we were talking about arms and armor, and this kind of fun because this book came out in 1991, and it references a lot of earlier books on arms and armor, which are questionable. Let's see, which can be questionable. And I remember some of the books that you could get at the library from 50s, 60s, things like that had rather, and then, but of course that all got, it was rather questionable. And then that got incorporated to Dungeons and Dragons. And of course, that's been a huge influence on our perception of arms and armor. On our perception of arms and armor in kind of popular culture. So it's kind of interesting that, but now we're talking about how we're kind of fighting back against that because we have a lot more experience with medieval arms and armor. Somebody mentioned, I think yesterday, was talking about people who had not probably ever used or held the equipment or created the equipment, referencing people who had never done that as well. But in a world of YouTube today, like I said, we're getting into a golden age of everything, and that includes all kinds of recreations of medieval weapons, weapons and armor, which have only gotten better over the few years. And so a lot of us have a lot more experience with this. So let's see here. Good morning, Multiverse DM. So I didn't quite get to make my other thumbnail. Let me bring this up over here. I need we do have a table talk this evening. I'm going to put out some more links for us. Maybe starting tomorrow. I was working on editing yesterday, but also I ended up doing a lot of yard work yesterday. Let's see. Table talk. I would encourage you to come over here to the new Table Talk channel. There we go. For deep conversations in the Geekverse. Where is my header? Oh, there we go. Okay, nothing's working quite right. Table Talk, the new Table Talk channel. We'll still be simultaneously streaming it for a while. Table Talk channel. But after the stream, I'll finish making up the thumbnail for it and get all of that live. So come over to the Table Talk channel for deep conversations in the Geekverse. I also have a new trailer for us. Tonight, Doug wanted to talk about Ahsoka, the last 2 episodes of Ahsoka, and it doesn't really work to talk about that on Tuesday night. I mean, it's kind of fine. But everybody on YouTube and who is looking for stuff on YouTube for something about Ahsoka is looking for the most recent information. And we start streaming, I think Doug said, basically as Ahsoka is coming on. So Doug goes and watches Ahsoka on Tuesday nights. And so he said, hey, that he wanted to talk more about the last 2 episodes. And can we do it next Tuesday? And we could have a segment on Ahsoka next Tuesday. But I was like, you know what? We could go ahead and get ahead of things and have a table talk tonight and talk about Ahsoka. So Doug's going to be talking about episode 4 and 5. He wrote a major article for his website about Ahsoka episodes 5 and 6 and put that up on his website. So if you're looking for the Doug Burton, if looking at the Doug Burton website, in fact, I wonder if I could find that. If you're looking for Doug's website, here it is. I'll put the link in here. And also, we'll come right over here. Ahsoka. So here's a preview of Doug's thoughts. Doug's blog on Ahsoka, if you want to check that out. So we also have a special guest tonight. Retro Nerd Girl is going to be joining us. So Retro Nerd Girl is going to be on the stream tonight with Doug to talk about Ahsoka. And Doug also wants to talk about the Clone Wars because he's got a comprehensive guide to what parts of the Clone Wars you should actually watch. So if you are trying to get caught up or you want to go back and catch up on what Doug considers the good parts of the Clone Wars, we'll be talking about that too. And then Retro Nerd Girl will be joining us tonight as well. So we're going to, I don't think this is going to be a 5-hour conversation. That's not what we're planning. It's just an auxiliary table talk tonight about Ahsoka. So good morning, Lynn. Good morning, Zero the Blade. So that's it. Good morning, James. Good morning. Good morning, Sable. Oh, nope, you did not miss the breathe and sip, although because I'm having a camera problem for some reason this morning. Well, we'll just have to do it this way. But it's time for a breathe and sip. Let's do it. 2 deep breaths in, complete exhale, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage. I've got Diet Mountain Dew this morning. All right, let's take a sip. Let's start with breaths, though. Here we go. And sip. Lynn says, my original perception of Arms and Armor was largely shaped by Hollywood epics like Ivanhoe and Robin Hood. Robin Hood and Ivanhoe, if you're talking about like the Errol Flynn, Robin Hood, and then Ivanhoe from the 1950s, those were also very formative on me as well. I guess Arms and Armor, but also just on storytelling and the Middle Ages. In fact, Ivanhoe and Robin Hood are both inspirations for Tales of Rabbithania. Good morning, Stray. So Doug's Ahsoka on his site. Oh, you saw that? Oh, Doug says, James says, Doug's Ahsoka on his site. I mean, it's a good read. Stray says, yes, please do join the Discord server. I'll put out a notification on the Discord server when we're going live for like table talk. That way you don't miss. What I'd like to do is I'd like to get, ideally, I think I would like to be doing 2 table talks a week and then also 2 dinner and a board games a week. I got to get dinner and a board game ready, but I've still got a whole bunch of story editing to do today. Sable says, the whole World Between Worlds thing is not Star Wars. And I have no idea what's going on with that. I have no idea what that is. So Doug's going to have to fill us all in. I did not. Good morning, Lord Foldmine. Oh, Lynn says, I recently rewatched the Errol Flynn Robin Hood and realized for the first time how much Sherwood Forest resembles Southern California. I'm going to have to look for that. I'm going to have to look for that next time I watch it. I've got it on Disney Plus. Not on Disney Plus. On we're talking about Star Wars here. I got it on Apple. But I used to have it on DVD. I went and bought it because it was such a favorite of mine as a childhood. That's one of those VHS tapes. And did I have Ivanhoe on VHS or did we just rent it? But I had Robin Hood. It's one of those that I watched over and over again and wore out the DVD or the VHS rather. Okay. If you're just coming in, I have no idea why my camera is not working. I have to get that figured out by tonight, but my camera is not working. So we've got the auxiliary camera over here. So we are on auxiliary camera for our arms and equipment discussion. Was there something else I was going to say? I did remake. You'll see it tonight. I made a trailer for Table Talk so that we can start using that. And because I was making, well, actually, what I did first was remade an intro to Table Talk because I needed a Table Talk intro. This was months ago. And so I made up a Table Talk intro for Table Talk. And then basically right after that, like that week, Doug joined in. And so I was upset or sorry that I never had Doug in my intro. Like he came in just as I'd made up the intro, but it was kind of a low priority thing to remake my intro. So I remade the Table Talk intro. So you'll see that tonight. It's got Doug in it, features him, and then also created a trailer for that. So that trailer, if you're over there on the Table Talk channel, after I make tonight's thumbnail, I'm going to put up the trailer over there on that channel. Trying to get projects done. Trying to get back to trailers. Trying to get back to getting things done. Yes, please do. Remember to like and subscribe. All right. So we were looking at the Arms and Equipment Guide, and we had just gotten to scale armor. Now, this is another one of my favorite pictures in this book. I do like this one. Now, we're going to have to take a look at what we think about scale armor. So what's the situation with scale armor? Current situation and current thoughts on scale armor. I'm not sure. Now, this is AC6. Now, the first thing I notice, of course, that I can't stand is that it does use the term scale mail. So this book definitely adopts, and like a lot of AD&D did, and a lot of fantasy stuff still does, adopt mail as just a generic term for armor. So instead of using mail to mean, the armor of lynx. And I think that was my understanding is that's a Victorian thing, right? That the Victorians started using mail for everything. Mail as a word for armor. So I would say scale armor. Oh, Sable is asking, who did the art for this book? Is it Elmore? That's a good question. Can we get some art credits in here? So color art. So there is some color art in here someplace. So color art is by Daniel Horn, Eric Olson, Keith Parkinson, and Michael Weaver. So it looks like no. Black and white art include Kelly and Laura Fraze, Mark Nelson, Carl Waller, armor, Valerie Valask, equipment for mounts, Stephen Sullivan, weapons, Ken Frank, equipment, and Ned Dameron, clothing. So, no. Now, this one I'm less sure about. I do like the picture of this elf lord right here. I mean, I'm totally buying in to the scale armor that this guy's wearing. And he looks like an elven lord here. So especially this guy with this particular armor looking at the table. I do like this. So this one, some of the art I think is kind of missing here. But especially since you're trying to demonstrate the armor itself. This one does this, and this one does this as well. I like the squires here taking care of the horse. And this one right here. Scale armor is historical, especially in Mesopotamia. Right. So that's what I was going to say. Now you've got, and it depends on how you want to talk about this. So scale armor, your terminology here, because I was going to say there's absolutely plumata. It's plumata is what I was thinking of. Squamata. Yes, that one could be it. When I was thinking, Lorica plumata is the one that is scale, but it has the male background, the male backing, right? Yes, squamata. That's a type of scale armor used by ancient Roman military and the Roman Republic and in later periods. It's made from small metal scales sewn to a fabric backing. So, okay, so that is our, yes. Roman, we have the scale armor, which kind of looks a lot like what this guy's wearing over here. So squamata, and then we have the plumata as well. A set of Roman name, the Lorica plumata translates to feathered cuirass. It's named for a feathered appearance due to the feather-like scales called plumes attached to oval-shaped rings. So the difference between the squamata and the plumata has to do with the backing. I wanted to do some plumata, and there you can buy the scales. Because this was years ago, I found that you can buy scales that online, and probably still can, probably from the Ring Lord, that that go on the rings, but they're not very durable. I thought that would be some really cool looking armor to have plumata, but they're not armor quality scales. If all you're looking for is something that that looks nice, you can do that and you can put it together, but it doesn't really, it's not going to hold up to a beating. Although probably somebody now makes those, and it's probably somebody else could fabricate them. I kind of do want to make some. I think it would be neat to do a plumata, but then actually have mail for the sleeves and also around the waist. I think that'd be a really cool look. So let's see. But yes, we've got historical scale armor, Mesopotamia, some of the earliest armor, I believe. Wait, hang on. Is scale. Let me see if I have a book over here. Yeah. I've got some of the Osprey books that I like to reference. But I believe, I remember this one, but some of the earliest body armor. Probably the guy, we were laughing at the guy because we were laughing about the situation. Some of the earliest armor was found from the bottom of a well or something like that. And I was laughing at the historian's depiction of this, is that the guy must have looked like a giant pine cone. And it was like scale armor. And then we were saying that maybe his friends were making fun of him. And so eventually he just threw it down a well or something. The earliest known Western armor is the Dendra panoply, dating from the Mycenaean era. Yeah, that would not be. Oh, okay, that's not exactly it. The Dendra panoply. Let's see. That's kind of cool though. Let me. There we go. It's this right here. So that's not exactly what I was thinking of. But that's the earliest known body armor. Example of Mycenaean era full body armor made from bronze plates uncovered in the village of Dendra and the Argoil de Greece. So bronze. See, here's the deal with the an example of plate armor, but that's bronze. So it's not like people didn't know how to work plate. But so why did we go to or have the idea? I mean, especially when you talk about the ancient Greek helmets, they were obviously making helmets out of single pieces of metal, like the Corinthian style helms, and they were clearly making breastplates out of one sheet of metal, but they were bronze. So it's not like that idea was completely foreign to armorers. But then when we're talking about iron, we often use the Spangenhelm construction, which is putting together a bunch of smaller pieces, and then we stop having cuirasses. We end up having the mail hauberks, which I love the look. But my understanding is that that's a technological limitation of blooming iron. So it's not like, so that's just the size. There was a technological advancement that allowed, I believe it's furnace construction. I need a fact check on all of this, but this is my understanding, is that it's much more difficult to get large blooms of iron. And so the armorers just didn't have large chunks of iron and large sheets of iron after going through plating to work with. And so that's why they made Spangin helms out of the Spangin helm construction. And then that's why mail was popular, because they just couldn't get a big sheet. It's not like they didn't have the idea. It's interesting that the earliest piece of armor that we have here is plate armor. But if you're working in iron, you've got to have a big sheet. You can get these big sheets of bronze, but you can't get this armor. You can't get large sheets of iron. That's my understanding. And Lynn was talking about Ivanhoe, and I do love that movie. But one of the things about the Ivanhoe movie is that they've got metal shields, which does make it sound cool when they're fighting. It does make it sound cool when they're fighting, because the flail and the axe are beating against the metal shields, and it's got this really iconic clash. And so it's working for a Hollywood movie. But I always wondered, now why they should have wooden shields. It would have been better if they had had wooden shields. I'm sure if they thought about it at all, it's because they like the noise associated with the weapons upon the metal shield, which is pretty cool. But if they had if they had large enough sheets to make metal shields, they would have just been making metal body armor. And then later, once your technology improves to create larger iron blooms, you're able to produce sheets where you can go back to creating armor, like plate armor out of steel. I'll see what's going on in the comments. Is that your understanding as well? So I guess scale armor over here is also a great option if you don't have the technology to make large blooms of your particular metal. Good morning, PH. Have fun. Stray says, I love how old school D&D era turns into a history body check. LOL. Lynn says, am I the only one who thinks sea elf scale armor should be made with real fish scale? Well, you know, the fish's scale, the armor of fish's mail, Tolkien uses that terminology, and I'm okay with that. That could be, you know, when you think of fish's armor or scale, like a fish's scale. I mean, I definitely think of something that looks like this. But on the other hand, that could be a real poetic way to just talk about mail in general. Because Lynn says, I wouldn't be surprised if historical armors were copying the way that fish scales overlapped and protected the fish. You know, in the Tales of Rabivania, in the story of Clovis, which is their heroic legendary rabbit, it was the first rabbit to create weapons and armor, did exactly that. he deliberately copied fish's mail in order to create the first set of armor. Did the Japanese use shark skin on the handles of their swords? I think I might have heard that before. Lord Fullmine says, I think the Greek linothorax sometimes had bronze scales in strategic places. Linothorax, I think that's the term I was looking for yesterday. Yes, that's the word I was trying to think of yesterday, but couldn't do it. So that is, and I have never seen that. This linothorax, I think that's also something new as far as a discovery in this particular type of armor. Because I never saw that in classic fantasy games or Dungeons and Dragons or things like that. I don't think I've ever seen linothorax be talked about. So I think that's a relatively new discovery. So the theory, so linothorax is a type of upper body armor that was used throughout the ancient Mediterranean world. The term linothorax is a modern term based on the Greek, whatever that word is, which means wearing a breastplate of linen. A number of Greek and Latin texts from the 6th century BCE to the 3rd century CE maintains that Thoracus linoi or Lorica linetti, I have never seen it called a lorica, but it's from the Latin, which means linen body armor. These are usually equated with some of the armors shown in sculptures and paintings from Italy and Greece from 575 BCE onwards. Very little is known about how ancient linen armor was made. Linen armor in other cultures was usually quilted and stuffed with loose fiber or stitched together in many thick layers, but could also have been made with a special weave called twinning, which creates a thick, tough fabric. The theory that it was made out of layers of linen glued together comes from a mistranslation of a summary of a description of medieval armor in 1869. Oh, that's interesting. I thought they were trying to make it like that. So, there's so many things that we're just not ever going to be able to know. So what is this? Some scholars believe that Homer refers to linothorax and he describes Ajax the Lesser as linen-breasted. Other scholars believe this refers to a linen tunic. And we'll probably just never know. But according to Wikipedia here, having it be glued, and that is not something that is a mistranslation. Where is research? Modern researchers have difficulty studying ancient linen armor because linen is biodegradable and leaves few remains for archaeologists to discover. So what do you do? Yeah, like I said, especially with this, and then also some medieval texts, what exactly they're referring to, we may never know. In the 1970s, Peter Conley built linothorax by gluing layers of linen cloth together and cutting them to shape. His reconstruction inspired many other reconstructions, including one by Professor Emeritus George S. Aldretti and his student Scott Bartell at the University of Wisconsin Green Bay. This project was present in the joint American Philological Association, Archaeological Institute of America convention held in Philadelphia. The project received considerable media attention after Aldretti tested his construction by shooting an arrow at Bartell with cameras rolling. But Peter Conley's reconstruction was based on a misremembered, twice-translated summary of a Byzantine chronicle which did not mention glue, not on an ancient text, artifact, or depiction. No culture before the 20th century is known to have made armor in this way. Who knows? We may never know. When I was thinking, or what's our status on scale armor right here? I want to say that some of those older books on medieval armor sometimes had knights, like 12th century knights or 11th century knights, wearing hauberks of scale. And I have never seen that since. That seems to be one of those things that those books talked about. But see, that could also be, it's also possible that something that looks vaguely like scale could be an artistic representation of mail. Especially if you're not worried about being too particularly accurate. So I think I remember, discussions of different things that hauberks can be made out of. And one of them was scale. But I don't know that I've ever seen an example of a scale hauberk. Am I wrong? I don't think I've ever seen one. That doesn't mean it's not out there. I wonder if it's really easy to bring one of those up. But when I've been to museums, I don't think I've ever seen what would look like a hauberk if it were made out of mail, but it were made out of scale. If you look up scale hauberk, you get some modern reconstructions. Scale armor. Oh, wait, we talked about pangolin scales, right? We're talking about that yesterday. So here it is right here. Gold coat covered in gold decorated scales of the pangolin in India, Rajasthan, early 19th century. So that's late. I mean, that's late armor. Late armor from India. Many centuries after what I've been talking about. So this guy does, what is this? Dacian scale armor on Trajan's column. Okay, yeah, I would say that looks like scale. That's not a that's not an artistic depiction of male. But that's on Trajan's column. Yeah, here's your fragment of Laurenca squamata. Each plate has 6 holes and the scales are linked in rows. Only the lowermost holes are visible on most scales, while the few short in the pair above and the ring fasteners passing through them. That would be a fun one to do. So that one does have that one. Well, it looks like those scales are linked together, and that there isn't on a backing. I thought we said that the squamata had a backing where the Laurenca had the rings. But on the other hand, I think also sometimes the classification between squamata and plumata have to do with the actual look of the scales themselves. Like the center ridge line, because the plumata being the male of feathers, I think that I often see that with an actual feather-like look. Whereas this one doesn't have that. I mean, roughly, but medieval Europe. Metal scale armor was used according to Wikipedia here, but like I said, it does not cite any sources. It was used throughout most of the European world for the duration of the medieval period. It was commonly used to augment other armor types, predominantly mail, but also plate armor taking the form of a cuirass over mail, scale pauldrons, or folds. There's also evidence for scale sabatons. See, I think I have maybe seen that. And scale aventails? Maybe. The use of the scale armor components is commonly depicted on period art and funeral effigies. The funeral effigy of Sir Albrecht von Hohenlohe, circa 1325, depicts him wearing scaled body armor beneath his surcoat and over a mail habergeron. Let's see if we can find him. Sir Albert's armor appears to additionally be riveted to the backing. What it was just saying there, I can believe. Here he is. This guy? Well, that's difficult to tell. So it looks like he's got something up here. That might be referring to what's up here. I guess that is the guy. But I would definitely say he's wearing mail. Yeah, okay, so I guess what they're saying is he's got something that's underneath right here at the armpit. You can see a little bit between the arm and before his surcoat and what he's wearing there. So maybe I'd have to look at it in more detail. But clearly he's not wearing a scale hauberk. I have never seen a scale hauberk. Lynn says, I have a vague recollection that somebody used shark skin for armor purposes, but I can't recall any dates. Japanese armor used bamboo because of how easy you could get it, and it's light and durable when heated. It may have, talking about the technology necessary to bloom iron, Lynn says, it may have depended on the development of efficient bellows to get the flame hot enough to get big iron plates. That could also be it. I need to search for that because that's relevant to Rapavania, because they don't wear plate armor. They wear mail. And I was thinking about adopting that. There is the reason why. They're at a technological state where they can't bloom large sheets of metal. Good morning, Vision. Good morning, Vision. Never thirsty, ever drinking, all in mail, never clinking. Yes. Lord Fullmine says, I think there's still some arguing going on about the exact nature of the Greek hoplite armor. There probably is. Stray says, cloth armor. I still stick a pillow up my shirt when I get upset at my older brother. James says, aren't the Celts usually credited with the creation of mail armor called the Byrnie Rite? How do we ever start calling it by the Gretchen mailed? I don't know. See, what is Wikipedia going to tell us at least according to Wikipedia? I always like also that the creation of male armor. I like it to have a history, especially even in fantasy worlds. You know, the creation of male was a big deal in Lord of the Rings, so I want to make the creation of male a big deal in both Rabavania and Theophany. Just seems right. According to Wikipedia, at least, it was in common military use between the 3rd century BC. See, it says the earliest. This says the earliest examples of surviving male were found in the Carpathian Basin at burial in Hory Jatva, Slovakia, dated to 3rd century BC, and a chieftain's burial located in Q Mesti, Romania. It says, this says its invention is commonly accredited to the Celts, but they are examples of Etruscan pattern mail dating from at least the 4th century BC. I did do some research on that a long time ago. Especially there were mentions of male in the Bible. So biblical male, but I think I came to the conclusion that was a mistranslation. And if you talk about the King James version talks about male in a couple of places, but that probably it would not be. Like that would have been, I think it was come up with that the earliest mention of male would have been biblical if what they were talking about was actual male, but probably it is not. It was talking about scale is much more likely. James says Gambison is probably my favorite type of historical armor, mostly because I can make it in my attached garage without fire. A lot of plate armor, though, can be worked cold. Some of it can't, but a lot of armor can be worked cold. Assuming you're starting with a sheet. You know, you're not doing the blooming yourself. Of course, it's controversial about whether or not you can use welding or not, because of course they didn't weld anything in the Middle Ages, like they'd raise helmets from single sheets. And I'm not a welder, but certain things are easier if you can weld something. Oh, okay, I was wondering what that term was. I said I've never heard of the Gretsch mailed. That may be something a term we have to use, though. The French mail. You know, that I use that term, M-A-I. You probably saw it when we were looking at the books I was writing. Mail, M-A-I-L-L-E. I started using that just specifically to distinguish it between this use of mail right here, that is that the Victorians started to use just as a general word for armor. So I specifically, when I refer to mail, I'm talking about what people call chain mail. But so I've actually started using that French right there, M-A-I-L-L-E, specifically to make sure that people know I'm talking about that particular type of armor. Okay, talking about the history of mail here. James says, I will blame the Normans. My ancestors actually fought for the Duke of Normandy at Hastings at 1066. Wow. Bacon is a French and British, as some of them stayed on the island surname. Frederick says, we got another lover of brigandine armor here. I do like, I am a fan of Lamellar. If I were to make another suit, I would wear a mail with a Lamellar over it for some things. But it would also look cool if it were like plumata. 3D print that mail. I've seen people do that, and apparently have some success with it. James says, if I were doing metal armor, I'd want to do it in historical fashion. No welding, no stamping or pressing, all forging. Okay, so what does this say over here? That was our diatribe on scale armor. So this is what Dungeons and Dragons, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, had said about this. Description: there's a coat of soft leather covered. Oh, this is a coat of soft leather covered with overlapping pieces of metal, much like the scales of a fish. It's just as heavy as chainmail, but offers slightly worse protection. It has no significant advantage over hide or brigandine armor. So how is our AC? Our AC 6 is over here. Oh, brigandine, it's also going to give us an AC 6. The AC of these are not exactly what I would have thought. So chainmail can give us an AC of 5. Oh, it's got, see, ring mail is down here. Banded mail, and see, banded mail, splint mail. That's just terrible. Just terrible. So campaign use. Scale mail is an old type of armor, much like splint mail described later. It never became popular in Western medieval culture for very long. Its production was found to be too time-consuming and thus less efficient to make in comparison to other armor types. I'm not really sure it's like this. What are we coming up with? This does not appear to be completely accurate. Well, I'd be questioning this with regard to chain mail. In the AD&D game context, scale mail is mostly common in Dark Age periods and in foreign cultures, or those areas where its materials are unusually plentiful. In some human cultures, notably those similar to the Byzantines and other Eastern and Southern kingdoms, did not pursue the evolution of armor made of large plates, but rather chose to make use of small plates where metal is not forged, but is instead cut from sheets of malleable metal ores. This technology of scale mail and its successors, splint, brigandine, and banded armor, predominates. It's not a matter of primitive versus civilized, but rather two separate approaches to the same problem. Where Western cultures stress protection, Eastern cultures seek to maximize flexibility and ventilation in the hotter climates. Well, there's a generalization. The scales in scale armor are made smaller in order to make the suit more flexible and comfortable when worn. Indeed, in this respect, scale armor far exceeds either plate or banded mail. Again, I would probably arguable. Depends on how well your plate armor is made, I suppose. However, all of the scales require more maintenance, as the more items attached to the armor's backing, the greater chance that some will fall off. Scale armor not particularly maintained loses one level of armor class of protection. I guess it doesn't have in here the connecting them by rings. Scale armor suffers the same problems of dirt, grime, lice, and odor that studded leather and padded armor suffer. Scale mail does not offer protection as good as that of a brigandine for the same price at a comparable weight. The choice between scale mail and brigandine armor is likely to be determined by the nature of the culture in the DM's medieval world. Sea elf scale mail. The most intricately constructed demi-human scale mail is found in the undersea kingdoms of sea elves. More as a matter of appearance than ceremony, than for additional protection, the sea elves adapted the idea of scale mail to their own particular designs. Their armor can be worn underwater and is made of metals that do not rust, and the scales are affixed to a backing of eel skin, which does not disintegrate as leather armor does in salt water. Brought forth only in times of war or great ceremony, this expensive armor is worn only by the noble elven elite. This scale mail is unique among others for their beautiful silver coating. Some armorers wonder if this coating is silver, platinum, or even mithril. It's generally agreed that the rare scale mail of the sea elves is nearly as valuable as elven chain mail. Coin variant. Okay, have we ever seen this? A variant of scale mail is armor made with the common coins of the realm. This coin armor is seen only rarely, and then usually among dignitaries and high generals. Each set of armor can stock a large quantity of coins, up to 1,000. Rarely are they stolen, however, as the people who are rich enough to wear them are also rich enough to see to their personal security. There are many variations possible, from armor scaled wholly of gold or silver coins to mixed suits where the coins themselves are arranged to a personal, family, clan, or other heraldic pattern. James says the Bacons were granted land and titles and a coat of arms after aiding the Duke of Suffolk. But as titles and status are named honors, unless your branch of family was named, you have no claim. Mine was not named, but have no claim. Mine was not named. I have no claim to the titles or coat, but I have the history, and that's good enough. No, Lynn says on our dad's side, we're professional grave diggers that go back to the Doomsday Book. That's pretty cool. Yeah, Stray says monster casts heat metal on my fighter. Friend argues half plate has leather armor under the metal, and so I should be fine. Yeah, be just fine. See, here's like what is going on with this illustration right here? Like, especially if you're trying to show off what a brigandine is. I guess they're trying here to show something underneath this leather here, but that's not a great picture for showing off what a brigandine is. At least this does not say brigandine mail. At least this is not brigandine mail. This is brigandine armor. And I do like these. Let's go over here. Here are better brigandines. Let's bring this up. Yes, Sable's favorite armor right here. Typically made of heavy cloth, canvas, or leather, lined internally with small oblong steel plates riveted to the fabric, sometimes with a second layer of fabric on the inside. And so this may be the reason why we had the idea about studded leather armor. Because if you're just looking at the outside of this and you don't know what you're looking at, especially in an artistic depiction, it often does look like it's, you're wearing leather armor that has studs on it, because you're seeing the rivets through here, and often they are decoratively placed. I also love this look. So this is a good look. Saint Michael and the Dragon with sword and buckler, wearing brigandine with plate armor for hands and legs. I love the transitional look, which is how I would do it if I were doing 14th century armor. Oh, this actually talks about this. The protective coating of armor had been used by armies from the earliest recorded history. The King James Version of the Bible translates coat of mail as brigandine. So I do not believe that what's being mentioned in Jeremiah is actually mail, and I'm sure it's not brigandine. Coats of plates. I do like coats of plates, too. The coats of plates, like the Visby coat of plates. Medieval brigandines were essentially, those are easier to construct. The Visby coat of plate, because I do like this look too. This one isn't quite. He just looks like he's wearing some serious mittens here. But the coat of plates over your hauberk. So as an evolution here. I do have this up. Okay, phew. There's an inside view. Inside view of an Italian brigandine 1470. Very interesting. Oh, jack of plate, yeah. Okay, let's see. James says, I quite like brigandine too. It's classic and classy. No need for fire. I only recently got into leatherworking though, so I'm a bit further out from crafting this. It looks shaped to me. Now, of course, I'm sure there's a variety of different types, but it looks... That's one reason that I would say a coat of plates is probably easier. I've got this book over here. Oh, here's something we can go through it sometime. Does anybody have the techniques of medieval armor reproduction for the 14th century? This is I love this book. This book We'll go through this at some point. That would be fun while we're on armor and stuff. But this is the Brian R. Price book. I believe I got this for... Did I get this for high school graduation, or did I get this when I was like for 16th birthday or something like that? I had this book for a while. The Techniques of Medieval Armor Reproduction, specifically dealing with the 14th century. I would do a 12th century, the 13th century, 12th, 14th century. I'd like to step through the armor. Why was I getting this out? Oh, because in here, he does have a coat of plates in here. Making a coat of plates. Projects Defending the Body 401. That might be it. Here are the pour points. We were talking about that the other day. This guy right here. This guy's got a really interesting look. On this detail from the Eisenheim altarpiece, the stuffed defense common to both gambesons and some helmet padding can be plainly seen. The tubes were sewn first, then stuffed with fustian or linen, and then sewn closed. So this particular look right here, you've got a particular shape to the armor too, the wasp shape that the armor had. Definitely classic of the fashion of the period. And you know where it comes from. Let's see, 401. I love, the arming pour point right here. I like this look too, the plaque belts. This is when I think of a pour point, I think about just this right here to attach the leg armor to. Here. Let's see. The arming code of Charles VI. And its pattern. What was I? I was kind of trying to come over here. You see this look. I love this look. Here's the pig-faced bassinet. I love it. This is the Churlberg harness. Yes, okay, it's a reproduction of the Churlberg. Classic armor. I love that. Churlberg number 13 harness. That would be a great suit of armor to have. Let me try to get to what I was paying attention to. Okay, so the reason I was coming over here, okay, this is the simplified Churlberg 13. Here's the coat of plates, the complete harness with a coat of plates right here. So this one is I think a pretty easy project because this is based on a Visby coat of plates. So this is your early brigandine, a forerunner to the brigandine right here. That's not a particularly difficult project. Now, doing the Churlberg, like this one takes a more artistic eye to be able to get this right over here. Well, let me. This one takes a bit more of an artistic eye, but the Visby coat of plates. First of all, I think it's a good look. I would put a surcoat over that. But here's its interior. So it is shaped. It's shaped, but it's curved. It's not curved along multiple dimensions. It's only curved along one dimension. On this direction, these plates over here, and these plates are curved this way. These plates are curved this way. This one, actually, he might have a little bit of dishing up here. I'm not sure. But that's an easier... So that's creating the Visby coat of plates. And then a simplifying Churlberg. Start creating some and then slowly step up and add more and more plates so you get later period. That's a good book if you're interested in armor reproduction. Yeah, Lord Fallmine says, yep, later brigs were made with that wasp-shaped look. So that's an important part, I would think, to replicate. If you're going for that period, you get the wasp-shape waist. And people recognize what time period it's from. Stray says, technological advancement put into the codpiece was impressive. Yes. So, according to AD&D, Brigandine armor, the development of both scale mail and studded leather, and we were talking about an evolution of the coat of plates, which I'll notice coat of plates is not in here. A brigandine armor is composed of a layer of small metal plates riveted to an undercoat of soft leather, thick cloth, or coarse canvas. A further overcoat of cloth is applied to the exterior of the suit, making for a layered protection that's lighter than scale mail. An alternative configuration for the plates to be sandwiched between two layers of soft leather. Campaign use. Brigandine is a light armor of composite construction, often worn by brigands and other rogues. Brigands and rogues, not knights. The cloth covering serves, this is making, every time we have one of these shows, we're doing the morning grind. I end up wanting to do more writing. I end up wanting to do more game design. I end up wanting to make armor. And then there are other things that have to be done. The cloth covering serves to both strengthen the entire framework as well as make the armor less conspicuous from a distance. According to this, brigandine armor is quieter than chain, splint, or banded mail, but less quiet than studded leather or leather armor. Brigandine weighs more than hide, but less than scale mail. It's generally more flexible than hide, but 3 layers make it somewhat stiffer than scale mail. Brigandine armor is generally the best armor for a run-of-the-mill villager can afford, and still get good results. For anything with a higher armor class, a professional master armor is required. I wonder, I guess that's, of course, they take all of this armor in D&D and they throw it all together. So we talked about armor from different periods of time and also different cultures, but in the classic AD&D schema, everybody's using everything, and we end up with just the AC system that everything's getting progressively better. This means that the Brigandine is the highest level of protection afforded many low-level AD&D game cultures and campaigns. This represents the limit of the early Middle Ages period AD&D campaign. This is the limit of the early Middle Ages? That's questionable as far as the timeline we just saw. But it says this represents the limit for early Middle Ages period. Of course, it depends on exactly what you're calling early Middle Ages. If a campaign resembles Dark Ages more than the Age of Chivalry, scale mail and brigandine armor probably represents the pinnacle of personal armor. And I would not think about brigandine in the Dark Ages at all. If I think of Dark Age armor, I wouldn't say brigandine. Sable says, brigandine is the best of all worlds. The durability of metal armor, but significantly cheaper than plate, much more protective than mail, and providing enough flexibility and breathability for long-term wear. There's a reason it was the armor of choice for most nobles, and anyone who wasn't a noble could still afford it. Lynn says, I noticed the source book really doesn't talk about the pros and cons of each armor type versus different weapon types. It does not. There isn't, what we've seen here in general, there has not been a lot of crunch and game mechanics. It talks about, armor degrading, but doesn't do that mechanically. It also doesn't talk about, different weapon types. That was in Combat and Tactics. If I recall, the AD&D Combat and Tactics book got more into weapon types and damage types versus particular types of armor. I still don't recall it being tremendously sophisticated. It was more just +1, -1, maybe -2 or +2 or something like that to AC here and there. But I think that's where that was. Sable says, also because it's rigid, it supports its own weight. Unlike a mail Bernie, it had some spring to it because of the banded construction, so it was theoretically harder to dent and pierce than plate. Lord Fallmine says, a brigandine would make a great adventurer's armor. James says, AD&D, what? It's armor. Armor is worn. I'm lumping it all together. Well, but see, here's the thing, Lynn. Lynn says, I definitely have opinions about what armor I'd rather be wearing if attacked with a warhammer as opposed to a sword. But how do you know what you're going to be attacked by? That's the real trick, right? What kind of armor do you wear if you don't really know what type of weapon is going to be attacking you? Pirates. So here we got pirates again. It mentions what pirates wear. It talked about pirates wearing studded mail earlier. Pirates and bandits. Brigands find that brigandine can be made from anything on hand, from sail to canvas sacks, and from coins to brass shavings. Such armor is still offers decent protection against most slashing attacks. Well, there we go. Talking about slashing attacks right here. Such armor still offers decent protection against most slashing attacks, the most common types encountered by these professions. As mentioned, brigandine is often easier to muffle than most metal armors and mails, thus the armor of choice among rogues and the less reputable members of the campaign society. Rangers are often own a set of brigandine as a field combat backup to their normal leather of either studded normal armor of either studded leather or leather. Poor or novice rangers and warriors might be able to afford or acquire brigandine armor when other armors might not be accessible. Brigandine armor can also be useful for smugglers, allowing items to be concealed within multiple layers. Not only coins and precious metals might be concealed, but treasure maps, personal defense traps, and concealed weapons are all possibilities for the clever character. Whether these are actual machinations of devious minds or just rumors spread to discourage personal thievery is a subject to debate among adventurers and legal authorities. That sounds like something that was made up for D&D. What is known is this possible to conceal such items, either within the padding by interleaving them into the metal plates. This potential for use or abuse of brigandine armor in the campaign should not be overlooked by the DM or player. Or did somebody talk about this in some historic reference that it happened once? Secret pockets for use by thieves or prestidigitators might be revealed in the heat of combat, or local authorities might miss a valuable clue if the PCs are lucky enough to discover on their own. Much like gnomish workman's leather described later, an adventurer's set of brigandine may hold many welcome or unwelcome surprises. Okay. Dungeon Master says, I like how 4E had different types of armor, including cloth, with different materials that granted different benefits. James says, I think to know what you're going to be attacked by, you need to have traditional precognitive plate. Lynn says, I'd go with Gambison versus a Warhammer if I had the choice. Let's see. What time is it? We got a little bit more time here. I got things to do, as always. We got a little bit more time. Let's see what... But we're about to go into chain. And I have a feeling that's going to be a big discussion right there. We started off with a big discussion of scale. Probably mail is going to be a big discussion as well. See, then I'll just see where we're going. So we'll save the deep discussion, the deep dive. Banded mail, splint mail. See, these guys are supposed to be demonstrating this. Banded mail. Banded mail armor is made of overlapping horizontal strips of laminated metal sewn over a backing of normal. Oh, this says normal chain mail and soft leather backing. This guy is clearly supposed to be wearing segmentata. And this guy, for some reason, you reverse it and you have splint mail. See, that's it. We're going up in armor types. AC4. See, then bronze. Like, what are we doing here? What is this guy wearing? Bronze plate mail. And then plate mail. I hate the term plate mail. Field plate armor. At least they use the term armor here. Field plate armor. Full plate armor. Gnomish workman's leather armor. Elven chainmail. Drow chainmail. Dwarven plate mail. So this is where we're going here. And then into shields and other equipment. I always liked this picture. I always thought this was a good one. Especially of this guy right here. And this guy wearing the complete coif. The male hauberk with the coif. This guy looks very happy with his helmet. I'm not sure about this helmet right here, but especially these two guys I've always liked. Oh, here's one of our colored images. It's like how a man should be armed. How a man should be armed when he shall fight on foot. Let's see. All right. I've got to figure out, I apologize for not having the camera. I'm not sure what was wrong with it. It appeared to be working, but for some reason it's not transmitting to the streaming software today. So I've got to figure that out because I want to be sure that we've got, I have that ready for Table Talk tonight. So please do come over to the Table Talk channel. I will still be simultaneously broadcasting it here and to Table Talk, but the Table Talk channel itself is the one, in fact, I'll pull this up right over here, is ultimately going to be the home of Table Talk. Doug Burton and Retro Nerd Girl will be with me tonight to talk about Ahsoka and also the Clone Wars, like the best of the Clone Wars. Doug's going to tell us all about that. I'll put this link over here. Please do really help us out to get more subscribers over here on the Table Talk channel. I think that it is definitely a good idea as far as branding goes. New people find our clips, what we talk about. And if you're interested in Table Talk, then they find that and hopefully will be joining us for tonight. But getting some watch hours over there on Table Talk and also the subscribers would be very helpful. Please join us over here. That'll be at 7 o'clock p.m. tonight. For Table Talk. Yep, 7 Central as usual. Yes. So, all right. So that will be happening tonight. I will see everybody later. Enjoy your Sunday. Hopefully do some gaming. Gaming with family, gaming with friends. But if you're not able to do that, please be creative, be constructive, and I will see you later.